We'll go to get data, right? A simple, you can just directly see an Excel workbook. I will go to my desktop. I have these different, I will just pick sample superstore file from my local system, from my local computer. Okay.
Mhm.
And then it will open a dialog box here, like this a screen, which would
Mhm.
ask me that, and these are nothing. These are just different sheets, right, in my workbook. If I will just open my workbook, so these are the different sheets out there, right? And then I have the capability, like I can see like what are the different sheet, what are the different columns available, and overview, like a preview of data also will be shown here, right? So that I can see if all the required column are not, or like are there or not, right? So these are the required column which I want to fetch, right? So I can, like for example, I want to pick this orders table, only just this one, right? So I can see like these are the different columns that are there in order sheet, and I would just select this. I will just click this. So now I have two options. One is either I can load it directly to uh, Power BI, right, into the model view, or I can just go to Power Query editor, right? So just remember, like on
So
this
one
dialog
question,
box,
quick question.
yeah, yes,
So we are only loading from the workbook, the Excel workbook. We're only loading the orders tab, right? For now.
right.
If we wanted to load like three tabs from here, we want to load orders, people, and returns. We can just click those,
Right,
right? Oh, okay.
exactly.
So when we click on load, does it mean that it pulls these three tabs into Power BI as three separate tabs, or it combines them to one?
It would only pull that separately. It can't combine. We are not doing any join, any merging of these. We
Okay.
are just pulling them separately, independently.
So what it does is just recognize the data just as they were in the sheet you are pulling them, but it's just pulling those three tabs.
And yes, directly. It
Okay.
would
And
just
when it pulls those three tabs, it pulls them onto your views. So you can be clicking on each one of the tabs and then you see what the content of the data is.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
let's see.
Okay.
And then if you want to
Now,
join the data, you now go to your your relationship. That's the DAX, right? The
right,
this
into the Power Pivot, right? So
okay,
into the
okay,
Power Pivot or the data model view, you can say.
okay, data model
Okay.
view.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So like for example, right now we have selected these three sheets, right? If you can see, right?
Mm,
So in the returns one, you can see, right? The column header is not appearing, right? It's just by default, it is giving us a returned as the first row, which is not the correct. This is the column header. If you just go into the, so we can't do those transformation directly in Power BI, like directly in a data model view or in a data view. We need to then for these kind of a transformation, we require Power Query, right? If you
mm,
want to do certain these requirement, these fixes in our data, right?
mhm,
So what we can do is we can select from here like transform data. Also, like we can see like what are the different data types. We can't fix this. We are not aware from this view that if all the columns are in proper data type or not, like the data is proper or not, the structures are proper or not, right? So these are the fixes that we need to check, and for that purpose, we need this functionality of Power Query Editor where we can transform the data, right?
mhm,
So if I
mhm,
go and click on load, it would directly just load my data to the Power Pivot, which is the data model view. And
mhm.
but if I require a certain transformation before loading the data to the model view, then I need to take it to the Power Query editor first.
And how do you do that? Do you click on transform data here?
Yes. So when I will click transform data here, it would first go to Power Query editor. Then I can
Oh,
do all those
yeah.
transformation and I will close and apply all those transformation to the data model.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see both of these examples. Let's first go and I will apply the transform data, right? So when I will say transform data, so this is the, like you can say the Power View, Power Query view, right? Power BI view. Then this is the Power Query editor. You can see this is a separate window. If you can see at the top, right? Untitled Power Query editor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
These are the Power Query editor, and you can see like this is the Power Query editor. By default, this is the view. Again,
mm,
we have certain tabs at the top: file, home, transform, add columns, view, tools, help, which we will see in upcoming classes, like what these different tabs means and what are the functionalities. Then we
mm,
have this ribbon below to that. These are there's a ribbon, right, where we have added like a functionality with respect to home, with respect to transform, with respect to add column, like we have in Excel, right? So it's very much similar that we have used if you have used in Excel. So this is
mm,
the ribbon. Then in left, we have the list of tables. Here we call them as queries, right? So these are nothing. They are just the list of tables that we have loaded, right? So we have
mm,
loaded three tables: orders,
mm,
we have loaded people, and we
mm,
have loaded returns. So they came separately, as you were asking me, right? So when we
mm,
load those different tabs, so they will
mm,
come as a separate entity, and we are
mhm,
not merging them. We can merge them here, but we
mm,
haven't merged them at that stage,
mhm,
right?
mm,
So
mhm.
here we have three different, uh, you can say three different tables which are coming in orders, people's, return, right?
Yeah. Can you click on people?
Okay, let's go and click on people.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
There's a graph that showed up in one of the
Yep, yep,
tabs
yep.
you click.
Right,
Okay,
right.
that's like just giving you suggestions, right? Like what?
It's giving us the stats of the data. You can
Mm,
say like how many distinct values are there, how many unique values are there, how many empty cell are there in the data, how many errors are there, how many
mm.
valid rows are there.
So that
So
will
it's
help
just
you
give
in knowing what to transform, like what to
right.
clean, data
Right,
cleaning.
right. So it is
Mm,
just giving us an overview of the tables that we have put, right? And if
mm,
you go to view tab in the Power BI Editor, so these are the options that are available, right? So if I just go and click this, so my column distribution has gone. I'm not using that view. If I just click that, so this is showing me the column distribution as well, right? Then I can just see it
Hold
like
on.
generally.
Column distribution is what? Showing you how many columns are there or what? What does column
Column
distribution?
distribution is like this, that the distribution of the columns, like we are getting some additional stats about the columns, right? For
Oh,
example,
I see.
you can see in this column, it is the distribution is we have five distinct and five unique values,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have five distinct and five
In
unique
column
values,
one, right?
right? In column one and in
So if
column,
you want to check
yes,
if you want to check for column two, there's going to be something different, right?
no,
So
no,
if
in
we,
column, like for example,
oh, so
this
it's showing all the columns and their stats, right?
exactly.
Okay,
It's available for every column. It's
every
available
column.
for every
Oh,
column.
I
You can
see,
see it here,
I see. Mm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, right? So we can fix this view
So
here as well.
hold
Yep.
on, I have a
Okay.
question. So if you look at order ID column,
Yes.
it's distributed as a chart. What does this each one of those lines mean? Like 48, 482 distinct, 20, 221 unique. What does each bar stand for?
Okay. So each bar, okay. Understood. It is nothing. It's just a comparison of distinct and unique values. If you just see it here,
Oh,
right?
I see.
So it is saying it the 100% of the rows are distinct and 100% of the
I
column
see.
values are unique,
Because
right?
it's row
But it,
ID, it has to be
yep,
so. So that
right,
means for me, when I'm running through this as a data analyst and I see that in row ID, the bar charts are uneven, that means there's something
right,
wrong with that data. Because if
right.
it's unique
Not
or
wrong. You
primary
can say
key,
like, yeah, yep.
they
You can
ought
say
to
that.
all be different.
Exactly. So there are some different values, some unique, and the distribution is not like you can say completely unique, right? There are some like duplicate values as well, certain things like that.
In primary
Okay,
keys, right?
right.
Primary key column, there can be duplication. Is that what you're saying?
If that is a primary key, right now, I'm not saying that this is the primary key order ID column. Let's take, for example, row ID is a primary key in this particular column, right?
Okay.
So if then we have a duplicate values, then that is the concern that we have to tackle.
Okay. Okay.
But
But
that
in
is
this
not the
one, they
case
have
here.
not said it is, right?
Yes, I haven't
Oh,
said that this is a primary key. I'm just taking it as a key. Like you
okay.
can say order ID key, right? And it might have a duplicate values. That depends if this data is designed in that particular way or not.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then as we have seen, so now we can do certain fixes here,
Okay.
right? Which we will see again, not yet, like not just now, because right now we are just seeing that what is the process of data loading. Okay, let me just give you a very basic overview. So uh, I was telling you, right? So this is this left side of the this table, right? This view is giving you the list of tables that we are pulling in, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
in the right side, we
Mm-hmm.
have different steps. So this is nothing. This is the documentation of the different step. Okay, let me give you an example like how we are doing this. So for example, as I told you, right, if you see the row first, right, this is nothing, this is just column header, because right now the column header, which is coming by default, is column one, which is not, which is there in data, right? So we need to change that. We need to make this first row as a column header, because Power BI is not able to identify that my column header is this. It is considering it as a first row. It is not able to track it as a column header right now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I can just go to transform and for example, I go to this transform column, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here we have different functionalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see I can detect the data type. I can do a lot of activities. Now, right now, I want to use first row as a column header. If you can see, we have this functionality here in the left top, right? Where we can just use this. So I will say use first row as headers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would convert this. So now my column header have been converted to return, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
also see the step is added here, right? In the right, which is the
Mm-hmm.
promoted headers, right? If I just click this, are you sure you want to delete this step? I'm just deleting it, right?
It
So you
goes
can
back
see,
to now.
okay, let me,
It will go back to what it
okay,
was.
right. Let me just get back to it. Yeah, it would just go back to that previous step. Okay.
Okay.
So again, as I told you, it will go back again to the previous stage, column one,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is the window where we are seeing different stages are getting documented here, and we can like whatever we are doing here, what are the transformation we will do in this particular table, that will step by step will added here, right? And we can see like what we are doing, what are the different transformation we are doing, right? So we can
Mm-hmm.
see all those transformation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that because we might need this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and by default, it is tracking this data type as ABC, which is a string data type. Now we have different options to change the data type of that column, right? You can see we have decimal, we have fixed decimal number, we have whole numbers, percentage, date time zone, duration, text, true, this which is the binary values, right? So we have different options to play around with the different data types that we are fetching from the data source. So we can do a lot of control. We have a lot of control over the data here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then in this way, we will analyze this again in this table as well. I can see that it like it Power BI or Power Query Editor is not
Can we
able
go
to
back
track.
to, sorry, can we go back to return?
Yeah, sure.
Um, can you click where you clicked before on that tab? What brought out the options we were looking at? The true, false, and all that.
Okay. So this is nothing. This is just AB, right? If you can see this, I'll
Mm-hmm.
just click it here.
Okay, so what happens if you click on true stroke false? What will happen to that
Okay,
column?
so okay. It would take that, but like for example, if the real meaning of this data is in that sense only, right? If this is a binary column means like I've created a flag in my data. So for example, I've created it with the purpose of creating a binary flag in my data, then it would take it and it would consider it as a binary flag. So it should make a logic, right? Is it relevant to change the data type or not? If yes, right, for example, here it will make sense because this data returned it, we have created it with a
Yes,
yes
sir.
no value, right? So
Is
then it's
one of
good. Yes, so we can convert it, right? So I would just say add no, and it would convert my data type to that certain thing. But right now, like also we are seeing some error here. So we'll see like what is the error. We couldn't convert to logical details. Then we have to see like what are the issues here with the data, like why it is not able to convert that. So let's go. We'll see we have yes, one distinct value. Let's see what are the different values here. So right now we only have yes values, right?
Yes.
So
Okay.
it might not be able to track it with a yes no value. So it is just considering it as only a string value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a issue,
Okay.
right?
Great.
Then we
Thank
have to
you.
see, right? Yep. So that's how like we have like these are the challenges. These are the real time challenges that we see while tackling with data, right? So
Mm,
either it should be a mandatory, like then we will see like if we are not able to handle that at Power BI level, then sometimes we need to do those transformation at the data source level, right? So sometimes there those scenarios come, right? Like they are
mm,
not under the you can say capabilities or they are not under the constraint that Power BI editor can do those transformations. Sometimes that happens as well. Then we will see that either we should do that at the data source level or not. Like we should bring data in such a way so that all those transformation are already there, right? And we have
mm,
to do the least number of transformation in query editor, because
mm,
like doing a lot of transformation in Power Query editor is also not a good practice, because that would make your report bit slow. Because what
mm,
would happen when you will open the desk or dashboard, like for example, you have shared it with a stakeholder and that stakeholder is coming there. So adding every step when you are doing a transformation, a step is has been added here, right? So
mm,
when the dashboard will get loaded, all those steps will be like all those steps will be executed one by one, right? And if there are a lot of steps, then the execution time will increase, and when the execution time will increase and the data is big, so your dashboard reports will be bit slower, and that would be with that, and that will will not be a good experience for a user, right? So you don't want to do that, right? You generally want a good experience for a user.
mm,
So it's better, it's recommended, it's like you can say it's better to have like to keep as minimum number of steps as possible, right? So it's a better way to do that. But if there is like something very important or like you can't avoid that, then those steps should be done here. Like for example, there are certain data types that you want to transform. There are like you want to promote certain headers, you want to remove certain null values from your data. So all those steps can be done here. That is recommended. Sometimes you also need to pivot the data, unpivot the data. So these all these possibilities are very much possible. Like you can do it, but it generally recommends that if you are doing a lot of transformation, then that can make your report bit slower. If you are doing all those transformation in Power BI, reason being, as I told you, when a report will like when someone opens that particular report, all the steps that you have added in your transformation will be executed one by one, and it might take some time when the data size is big. Okay.
yeah. Mm,
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, then again, as we can see in people table as well, one major issue is that the column headers are not there, not in a
mm,
proper way. So we can also again we'll go to transform tab and use first row as a header, right? So
mm,
again, this will do an additional step. Now, one basic practice is also that we do is when you see like in transform tab, like for example, if your data size is too big, right? And you first thing that you should do as a good practice, you should detect the data type. You can detect the data type of all of your column, right? So what you can do is you can just select copy, or you can just go anywhere on this. You can select Control A and you can just go and click on detect data type.
mm.
Right. So what it will do, it will try to like in its best intelligence, it will try to detect the data type of each column, and it will try to from its point of view, it will try to give you a data type for that particular column. Right. So
Mm.
that is with respect to Power Query Editor. So we will discuss this in detail in upcoming class. That's
So,
not the issue.
so
We'll
how
go
do we
okay.
know what data types? Can we go through the data types for each? But like for maybe
Yeah,
some.
we have to go in that particular way. We have to see like what are the different column. We have to go one by one, and we have to see like it is in with regard with it is in like aligned with the column, like the data types are aligned with the column. Like for example, sometimes what happen is like for example, this is an order date column. So sometimes it reads generally it in a string value. Sometimes that happens as well. Then we have to see, we need to transform those things, right? So
Mhm,
it generally happens in that particular way. So we need to check that either or a postal code. If you see what generally happens with the postal code, it read it in as a number. But generally, a postal code is not a like it's a number, but we can't do any aggregation over that, right? We will not be doing average or certain like thing. That's a dimension with respect to us. So we would see that is it coming in a proper way or not, right? So
Okay.
those are the things that we need to tackle it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I can see, I like most of these values are in a proper format right now. City segment customer ID, but generally like we have to give it a check. So this comes under, you can say, data preparation, that we should whenever we are working with data, so we should check like all the data types are proper or not, because we are going to certain operations, right? We have to write certain functions and then we have to use these columns. So if they are not in a proper data type, so then our calculations might get hampered, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a good practice that we should do this, and we should check these data types. Okay.
Okay.
So we will be discussing this Power Query Editor in detail. That's not the issue. I'm just giving an overview, like how these things works. We will be seeing like how to do a lot of transformation in Power Query Editor. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you, right? When we connect with the data, we have seen like we have selected the get data. We have pulled a Excel file. Then we have selected certain sheets. And when we click onto the transform data, so it will navigate us to this window, right? Which is a
Mm-hmm.
Power Query data. So whatever the transformation we are doing in here is it's come under the ETL process, right? So Power Query Editor is the ETL tool of Power BI, right? It's a self-serving ETL tool where we can do a lot of data transformation as per the requirement. And when we are good to go with the transformation, we will just go here like at home, and we will see and close and apply. Like we have three different options. Either close and apply. When we will see close and apply, it will apply all the transformation. It will close this window and navigate us to the Power Pivot, or you can say Power BI, to the main window, right? If we just say apply, it will just apply all the steps and it won't do anything. It will stay us here only on this window. And if we just directly close this, it would close and don't apply anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for example, if we just wanted to right now close and apply, right? So I would just say close and apply, right? It will be taking us to the Power Query Editor here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all those steps that we have applied there, they are just getting again reloaded to the data model, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the data is getting loaded here.